Justice is often seen as a scale, trying to balance crime with consequences. But what happens when the balance of just one crime, of just one man, shatters that balance completely? In the late 1990s, Pakistan was rocked by the horrifying confession of Javed Iqbal, a man who had claimed to murder around 100 boys. In one of the most disturbing serial killings the country has ever seen, meticulous, calculated, and chillingly remorseless. Iqbal turned himself not to because he felt guilty, no. He wanted to make a statement. This is not just a tale of murder. It's a haunting look into the mind of a man who dared the law to basically punish, to match his cruelty with punishment. We're about to uncover one of the most chilling cases in Pakistan, so viewer discretion is advised. And, of course, welcome to another Beauty and Crime Sunday with me, in which I do my skincare while I talk about the chilling cases I found this week. And today we have a very disturbing one, so hold your tits. So we are in December 1999. Lahore. I don't think it's called like that. Lahore? I think that sounds better. Pakistan. The police department and the local news received a chilling letter. Not a ransom note, not a threat, no. It was a confession. The writer claims to have murdered 100 boys. Yes, 100, all street kids and runaways between the age of 6 and 16. He says on the letter that he lured them in, assaulted them, and then strangled them. And after he dissolved the bodies, so there was no remains, let's say. Let that sink in. He said that the leftovers and remains of the boys were tossed into the near river called Ravi River. And just in case you thought this was a sick joke, the killer included directions to his house, which is just weird. Like full-on Google Maps energy, but just evil. So cops run, obviously, to his house, a very poor neighborhood in the slums of Lahore. I don't know how to say that. I'm just gonna call it Lahore, okay? Like that. Well, and inside, absolute horror is what they found. They found blood on the walls, on the floor, everywhere you can think of. Also photos of dozens of young boys. Also handwritten note cards with the boy's name, age, and the exact date of death. Also a thick iron chain, the murder weapon. And in the back of the house, 2 massive drums, all filled with acid. Inside the drums, well, the partially dissolved remains of 3 boys. The killer basically left them in intentionally, so they would understand this was not a sick joke, this was real. Also found in that house, piles of children's clothing, toys, anything. And also parents of the missing children around the town, they had to go inside the house to basically try to scatter and find anything that could be from their son. Also, 4 teenage boys that actually lived with the killer were arrested. They were his accomplices, maybe. And one of them mysteriously dies in custody days later. Police say that he jumped out of a window. The autopsy, however, says otherwise. Meanwhile, the killer said on his letter that he would drown himself in the Ravi River. So divers searched and searched, but they found nothing. Nobody, just silence. And so the biggest manhunt in Pakistan kicks off. Javed Iqbal, now dubbed as the Butcher of Lahore, is out there somewhere, and the entire country is trying to look for him. So where is he? And more importantly, what is he planning to do? So December 30, 1999, 2 weeks after the weird letter, the nation of Pakistan is basically panicking. Headlines everywhere and one of the biggest manhunts in Pakistan. And the man who everyone feared just walked into the newspaper's office. Not a police station, not a courthouse. The local news. It was called the Daily Jang, one of Pakistan's biggest newspapers at that time. And with him, he didn't come empty-handed, no. He sounds like the most narcissistic person I have ever heard, in a while at least. He brought a 32 written journal, handwritten by the way, full of horrifying details, full of photos, and a very calm and apologetic confession. He said, "I'm Javed Iqbal, killer of 100 children. I hate this world. I am not ashamed of my actions. I am ready to die. I have no regrets, no remorse, just straight up evil." The police were obviously called, and Javed was arrested without any resistance. And when asked why he didn't surrender earlier, he said, "I was afraid that police would kill me in custody." So ironically, his accomplice did die in custody, so maybe he wasn't entirely wrong about that. So let's rewind for a second. Who was Javed Iqbal before all this happened? He was born in 1956 in Lahore. He was the sixth of 8 children in a very wealthy household. His father was a very respected businessman, and Javed is spoiled and disturbingly aggressive from a very young age. His brother later confessed that when he was younger, he used to kill animals just for fun, and we know what that means. The number one rule in psychopathic behavior. But despite that, he was actually a pretty smart kid, top of his class. He went to Islamia College in 1978 and lived in a very luxurious villa, bought by obviously daddy's money. But after college, he started working in an engineering factory, and he started employing very young boys. Because in Pakistan, sadly, but child labor is a very common thing, before and now. And that's when obviously things got darker. His family started to realize his weird obsession with young boys, because multiple complaints were filed. Accusations of SA, molestation, and inappropriate behavior. But surprise, surprise, nothing stuck, because obviously he's wealthy and they're just young boys, very poor young boys. They're lying. And also his father was very influential, so Javed kept dodging justice. Eventually, however, his parents tried to fix him. They did pressure him into marriage, but Javed had a very twisted idea of romance. He agreed, only with one reason. He could pick his bride, and he chose the older sister of one of his victims. And let that sink in, because that really happened. And you can really see his mind, very twisted mind. And also, by the early 90s, Javed was already arrested for abusing 2 boys. And his family obviously found out everything, and they cut him off. His wife left him, obviously, and soon after, his father died. And suddenly, Javed inherited 3 million rupees. And he used it in the most sinister way possible. He bought a mansion, filled it with very fancy luxury cars, and built a swimming pool just for boys. He invited kids from very poor backgrounds, offering food, shelter, and basically fun in that pool. But in return, what do you think he was doing? Oh, he was filming them, abusing them, and grooming them. And then came a business, because he still had some money left. So he created a business. Not only one, he created a lot of them. First, an arcade, an aquarium, a gym, a general store, and even a school, all designed to lure in poor, desperate boys into his trap. At the arcade, he would accidentally dropped some money on the floor. If a boy picked it up, he would accuse them of stealing the money, then drag him into the back room that he had, where the actual punishment began. Some were released, but others were never seen again. Local parents obviously caught on to this and stopped their kids from going near anything that Javed had. So he started getting a little more creative. He began reaching through some programs like pen pal programs and children's magazines. He would send gifts, photos, and convinced boys to meet him. And just when you thought it couldn't get any darker, well, it did. In 1998, Javed was robbed and attacked. He was left in a coma for 22 days. When he woke up, everything was gone. His mansion sold. His cars gone. His business liquidated. He was broke, homeless, and very hungry, obviously. So he moved into a very tiny house in Lahore. And then he started killing every single night because he was very angry. He would walk through the streets and basically find his prey. Runaway kids, beggars, orphans, boys who had no one looking for them. He did promise them food, shelter, sometimes even a job. Then lured them inside the house, torture them, strangle them, and lastly dissolved their bodies in those drums that I said before. He did become addicted to the power. He later bragged that he could actually have killed many more. And why didn't anyone actually stop him? Because police did not care. Families of poor missing children were ignored. Some were even beaten when they tried to file reports. And Javed knew about this, so he said it gave him time, the time that he needed. The authorities did not react until it was far too late. So Javed told the police his method. He used acid to dissolve the bodies, flesh, bone, and everything. Then pour the remains into sewers or nearby rivers. And he did this dozens of times. And the scariest part, he didn't really feel a thing. No guilt, no remorse, only pride. So what kind of punishment do you give a man who slaughtered 100 boys? Now we're going to cover the absolutely insane sentence the judge gave Javed. Spoiler, it's an eye for an eye. By now the world obviously knew his name, so Javed Iqbal, the man who confessed to killing 100 boys, was finally in custody. But just when the case seemed clear, he flipped the script. In a shocking twist, Javed withdrew his confession. Despite handing over a 32-page journal filled with very gruesome details, despite his own words at the newspaper, he now claimed he was innocent. What are you talking about? His defense? He said he made it all up just to draw attention to the suffering of runaway kids. Then came version 2 of the story. He claimed 20 of his friends had actually committed the murders at his house. And he only confessed because he felt guilty for not stopping them. Still not done. Version 3 of the story. He said there were no crimes, no murders. It was all a lie. But here's the thing, the evidence didn't really lie. The journal he gave to the press confirmed to be in his handwriting. The acid barrels filled with 3 bodies. The photos, the note cards, clothing that matched dozens of missing boys. So on March 15, 2000, after one of the most chilling trials in Pakistan's history, Javed Iqbal was found guilty. Thank God. Judge Allah Books, I hope I'm saying that correctly, gave a verdict that shocked the nation. You will be strangled to death in front of the parents whose children you killed. Then your body will be cut into 100 pieces and dissolved in acid, just as you did to them. Honestly, clap to the judge. He didn't just give him a death sentence, a very chilling, nice death sentence, which probably is what he was thinking of. He wanted an eye for an eye. A sentence designed to reflect every detail of the horror he actually inflicted in 100 boys. I understand that he's only one person. It was 100 boys that he did that to, but at least we kind of have some justice. The judge even ordered to make this execution publicly, which is kind of like medieval era, but okay. And it was right in front of a national monument. And the very change, he used the iron chain I said before that he used on his victim, so yes, that would be used for his execution. But this sentencing obviously triggered a firestorm. Pakistan's interior minister stepped in, saying such punishment violated human rights. And Javed's attorney filed an appeal, which makes sense. And suddenly the public execution was off the table. 3 of Javed's accomplices were also found guilty. We have Sajid Ahmed, just 17 years old, was convicted of 98 murders. He was sentenced to death and 686 years in prison. Then we have Muhammad Nadim, 15, got 182 years for 13 murders. And we have lastly Sabit Hamad, 13 years old, was sentenced to 63 years behind bars. And none of them ever saw freedom again. So October 8, 2001, just 1 year after the trial, Javed Iqbal and Sajid Hamad were found dead in their prison cell. At first, they thought suicide. They were hanging from the bed sheets, but then they looked twice and they thought something was off here. Both had strangulation marks, blood coming out from their mouths, multiple blunt force injuries, and one had heel-shaped wounds suggesting a brutal beating. Authorities, they did rule it as a suicide, but many believe, honestly me too, because when you find someone dead in a cell in a weird way, usually it's not what it looks like. For a lot of people, it was revenge carried out behind bars. Javed's family refused to even claim the body. He died for us the day he confessed, said one family member. And after all this, an interesting fact is that in September 2022, a movie titled Javed Iqbal, The Untold Story of a Serial Killer, was set to hit theaters. The film was made to expose the dark realities of child abuse and institutional neglect in Pakistan. But just 2 days before it was supposed to be released, it was banned by the Punjab government. Many actually criticized the censorship, saying it silenced unimportant truth. A petition was even filed with the High Court in Pakistan to bring the film to public, but the story remains buried. Javed Iqbal's chilling story shocked the world, but what's worse is really how long he got away with it. If he hadn't really sent the letter, he may have killed again. Scratch that. He would have killed again and again and again. And would he ever be found? I don't think so. The system failed 100 boys. Authorities ignored the families, and predators like Javed thrived in the shadows. Yes, his case did raise awareness, but it should have never taken 100 deaths to wake the country of Pakistan. Javed Iqbal didn't just murder 100 boys. He did expose the cracks in the system that were supposed to protect those boys. So if this case disturbed you and you learned something new today, don't just scroll away on YouTube. Talk about it, share it, and subscribe so I can keep telling you stories like this. Stories that people are too afraid to show. So drop your thoughts in the comments. Was justice really served? Should his sentence have gone ahead as it was initially planned? And how do we stop the next predator before it's actually too late? This isn't just a story, it's a warning. Thanks for watching. Today's learning is evil hides in plain sight. Stay alert, stay loud, and stay human. So thank you for watching, and remember, do your skincare, and if you don't end up like a glazed donut at the end of it, you're not doing it right. Bye bye.